Hello and welcome to Grognard Solo Gaming. I am the Grognard and today we are continuing with Curse of Strahd. So last time I forgot to mention that Seraphine also gained the ability to curse enemies to gain some benefits when she attacks them in melee combat. And she also gained the ability to imbue a melee weapon so that she can use her charisma modifier instead of strength or dexterity when she attacks with that particular weapon. And also, Janosch did not only have a whip in his backpack, but he also had some nets, which are martial throwing weapons. And he is going to give 2 nets to Seraphine. And also, as you can tell from the map on the screen, I have not covered up the rooms anymore. And the simple reason is that it takes time and it's not a lot of fun. And I don't really know how much it adds for you, the viewer. So in order to save myself time and work, this is how it's going to be from now on, because the maps are getting more complicated. But I am going to try to somewhat remove any traps and, if possible, also the secret doors, but it's generally quite difficult to hide secret doors without leaving some trace of them still on the map. The party has just come down the stairs in the corridor labeled number 22. They are using the light cantrip in order to see, because it is completely dark down here. So the general description of these corridors, well, dungeon, let's just call it what it is as follows. The dungeon level underneath Durst Manor is carved out of earth, clay, and rock. The tunnels are 4 feet wide by 7 feet high, with timber braces at 5-foot intervals. Rooms are 8 feet tall and supported by thick wooden posts with crossbeams. And the characters can also see very old humanoid footprints in the earthen floor, leading every which way. And also there is the incessant ghostly chanting. So the light cantrip says, until the spell ends, the object sheds bright light in a 20-foot radius and dim light in an additional 20 feet. Right? And it lasts for 1 hour. So Seraphine is going to cast that on Gottlieb's glaive so that he is holding the light in front of him. And that might lead to the question if he wouldn't blind himself. But the thing is that the spell doesn't come with any drawbacks like that. Some paladins also have a channel divinity ability that makes their weapon glow sort of the same way. And it would just be stupid if they used that ability and then they blinded themselves in melee combat. So I'm going to say that there is no downside to casting light on the blade of the glaive and keeping it in front of himself. So the marching order is going to be Gottlieb in front, followed by Janosch, then Friedrich Dümmler and Seraphine, and finally Gottfried in the back. So as Gottlieb looks out into the corridor that leads east and west, he is going to see that it ends to the east, and he is going to see that there is another corridor opening up to the south. Gottlieb is going to march forward and into area 23A, and Janosch is going to be right behind him, and then Friedrich Dümmler is going to go to the west to look around that corner in 23B, and then Gottfried is going to stand guard facing the north. Gottlieb and Janosch, they are met with an empty crypt. The blank stone slab meant to seal this crypt leans against a nearby wall. The crypt is empty. Meanwhile, Friedrich Dümmler and Seraphine, who is going to follow him into area 23B, they are met with another crypt, and it looks much the same, but etched into the stone slab is the name Walter Durst. The crypt is empty. Then the party is going to go back out into the corridor They're going to peek around the corner to the east, and they are going to see the chair and the table in the small room down the stairs, and they're going to draw the conclusion that there are probably no more crypts down there. So they are going to go to the west, and then they are going to go into 23C and D, and the arrangement is the same, meaning that Gottlieb and Janosch, they move to the east, and then Friedrich and Seraphine, they go to the west. And Gottfried stands guard in the section that is an entrance to this area. In the eastern crypt 23C, the stone slab is etched with the name Gustav Durst. The chamber beyond contains an empty coffin, and in the western crypt 23D, Friedrich Dimmler finds that the stone slab is etched with the name Elizabeth Durst, and also in here the coffin is empty. So then the party is going to go across the corridor and into the area that has number 23 and the letters E and F. So Gottlieb and Janosch, they are going to find that the stone slab is etched with the name Rosavalda Durst in the eastern crypt, while Friedrich and Seraphine are going to find that the stone slab is etched with the name Thornbolt Durst in the western crypt. It seems these crypts are made for the children. I think we should bring their remains down here and bury them with a consecration in the name of Sathramelin. Yes, Father, I think that is a good idea. Even if this place feels cursed, I do believe it would be good to bury the children properly. Deciding to do that, the party is going to go back through the corridor, up the secret stairs to the attic. They're going to go into the children's room, and they're going to take sheets from their beds, and they're going to wrap the children's remains in the sheets, and then they are going to carry them down into the dungeon. And then they are going to place them in their respective coffins, and Friedrich Dimmler is going to perform a burial rite in the name of Sathramelin. And meanwhile, Seraphine is going to use her prestidigitation cantrip to clean up, and she can also use the mending cantrip to fix any cracks or tears in the coffins or in the crypt. And as the rite is finished, for a brief second, a ghostly image of the children appears, and the ghost of Rose says, "Thank you," while Thorn simply nods and smiles faintly, and then the ghosts disappear. The party doesn't really say anything more about what they just did or what they just witnessed, but they all have a sense of having done the right thing. So, looking out in the corridor again, Gottlieb can now see the room labeled 27 and the table in that room. So, from the general layout so far, they can draw the conclusion that they are probably in the southeast corner of this dungeon. So, they are going to go back up the corridor, well, to the east in the corridor, and then they are going to go down the stairs and they are going to enter room 24. A wooden table and 4 chairs stand at the east end of this room. To the west are 4 alcoves containing moldy straw pallets. Right, so some kind of sleeping quarters type of arrangement in these tiny alcoves. And the party is on high alert in this place, so Gottlieb is constantly holding his glaive in front of him as he moves about, and Gottfried is looking to the rear. So, finding nothing of interest in that room, the party is going to continue to the north and then down another short flight of stairs, and they are going to enter room 25. A 4-foot diameter well shaft with a 3-foot high stone lip takes up the center of this room. A wooden bucket hangs from a rope and pulley mechanism bolted to the crossbeams above the well. And there are several openings in the walls in this area. So Gottlieb is going to go into the room labeled A, followed by Janos, and the rest of the party is going to watch the other openings. So 25A. This room contains a wood-framed bed with a moldy straw mattress and a wooden chest. So Janos is going to investigate the chest and he's going to find that it is locked. So he is going to ask Gottlieb to keep the light steady and he is going to pick the lock. So let's see. The chest is secured with a rusty iron padlock that can be picked with thieves' tools and a successful DC 15 dexterity check. Janos has a +5, so 10 plus. Nope, he fails to get it open. Then Gottlieb is simply going to hit the lock with the blunt end of his glaive, and let's see. So I am going to say that it is the same DC 15, but that Gottlieb can only add his strength to the roll. So that would be a +3. 22 will do the trick. Breaking open the chest, they find a pouch made of some disgusting looking old skin that Janos thinks might be human skin. And inside the pouch he finds 11 gold pieces and 60 silver pieces. And even though the human skin is quite disgusting, Janos isn't the type of person who is really very bothered by things like this. He has already seen worse, fighting worshippers of evil deities in the war. So he is going to take the coins and he's going to throw away the pouch. Then they are done with that room and they are going to go to room B. And it looks much the same and contains a chest. And I realize now that there really is no point making these rolls, because even though the party is in a dangerous environment, there really is no limit to how many times Janos can try to pick the lock, or for that matter, one of the paladins can try to smash the chests open. So I'm simply gonna say that because they are taking the time to open the chests, they are going to succeed. In 25B, the chest contains 3 moss agates in a folded piece of black cloth. And then they're going to go to 25C, and in that room the chest contains a black leather eye patch with a carnelian sewn into it. And Janos is going to take the moss agates and he is also going to cut the carnelian out of the eye patch. In room 25D, the chest contains an ivory hairbrush with silver bristles. And in the final room, 25E, the chest contains a silvered short sword. That's pretty interesting. So Janos is going to take all the valuables. Since Janos is a witch hunter, he has good knowledge of the fact that some devils and a few undead are vulnerable to silver weapons. And because Seraphine has a short sword that she is no longer using, he is going to ask her for the scabbard for that sword, and then he is going to hang this short sword in his belt so that he has it ready if anything shows up that is vulnerable to silver weapons. Yeah, and also Seraphine isn't very strong, so it is fairly unlikely that she's going to carry that short sword anymore. So she is going to hand it over to Gottlieb just in case, and they are going to have a look at the well, and they find that it descends 30 feet to a water-filled cistern. Moving on, the party is going to go up the stairs to the south, and they are going to come to a T-shaped crossing. So Gottlieb and Janos are going to look down the corridor. So they get to make a DC 15 wisdom perception check. And Janos actually makes it, but Gottlieb does not. So Janos notices that there are no footprints in this corridor, unlike the rest of the dungeon, where there are footprints everywhere, even though they are very old. There are no footprints in this corridor. We should be very careful going down here. You are right, Janos. Look for traps. And Janos is going to search the corridor, and he is going to find a 5-foot-long, 10-foot-deep pit hidden under several rotted wooden planks, all hidden under a thin layer of dirt. The pit has sharpened wooden spikes at the bottom. Well done, Janos. We should be even more careful going forward. Yes, Father, I will keep my eyes peeled. So everyone is fully capable of jumping across the trap without making an athletics roll. But because they realize that they are going to most probably reach this room with the table that they have already seen, they're going to go back to the east and then go south in the T-shaped crossing. So, entering room 27 from the north, the party finds themselves in what looks like a dining hall. This room contains a plain wooden table flanked by long benches. Moldy humanoid bones lie strewn on the dirt floor. In the middle of the south wall is a darkened alcove. Since Gottlieb is entering the room first and he is shedding bright light for 20 feet in every direction, the darkened alcove is actually going to be fully lit, and there is actually something lurking in there. And let's see. That something has an ability called Stone Camouflage, which gives it advantage on dexterity stealth checks made to hide in rocky terrain. And as this is a dungeon, I'm going to say this is rocky terrain. However, there is actually nothing else in this alcove, so there is nothing to hide behind. So I'm going to say that because of the ability Stone Camouflage, the creature gets to make a stealth check even though there is nothing to hide behind, but it does not get advantage on the roll. So let's see, it actually does not have the stealth skill, so it just adds its dex bonus of +2. Okay, that was unfortunate for the creature. That means Gottlieb automatically spots the creature and realizes that it is a Grick. And then we are rolling initiatives. The Grick has a +2, while Janos has a +3, and everyone else has no bonus at all. So that means Gottfried is actually the first person to act, but he is standing all the way at the top of the T intersection, so there really is nothing that he can do. Then it is the Grick's turn, and having been fully illuminated by this bright light, it realizes that it has been spotted, so it is going to slither its way straight toward Gottlieb, and it is going to attempt to bite him. However, Gottlieb is a polearm master, and that means while you are wielding a glaive, halberd, pike, blah blah, other creatures provoke an opportunity attack from you when they enter the reach you have with that weapon. And because this weapon has reach, it means that as the Grick slithers up onto the table, Gottlieb is able to lunge forward and stab it with his glaive. So let's see how that goes. 9+ to hit. That is a hit. That would be 12 points of damage. However, Gricks have damage resistances. They are resistant to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing from non-magical attacks, meaning it only suffers half of those 12 points of damage. So 6 points of damage. And that means Gottlieb is going to call out to the others and say, "It is resistant to normal weapons." So the Grick is going to hiss at Gottlieb, and then it is going to continue to move up to him, and then it is going to attack. And it is going to attack with one of its tentacles, and if that tentacle hits, then it is also able to bite. So let's make the tentacle attack. It has a +4, and Gottlieb has an AC of 16, so 12 or higher. And that would be a hit. For 2d6 plus 2 points of damage, for a total of 8 points of damage for Gottlieb. And that means the Grick also gets to make the beak attack with the same chance of hitting. And that would be also a hit. And the beak inflicts 1d6 plus 2. So another 5 points of damage. Ouch. That means poor Gottlieb only has 7 hit points left. That was not a good start. Then it is Friedrich Dimmler's turn, and he is unable to see the Grick because he is around the corner. At this point, Gottlieb is standing exactly on the number 27, and Janos is behind him, and then Friedrich, then Seraphine, and then Gottfried. So Friedrich is going to hold his action, and he is going to move into the room as soon as the others get out of the way. And actually, that is also what Gottfried would be doing. So then we are moving on to Gottlieb. And Gottlieb is going to step aside so that the others can enter the room, and then he is going to attack the Grick twice with his glaive. Sharp end of the glaive. That would unfortunately be a miss. And then blunt end of the glaive. He apparently cannot catch a break at all. Too bad, Gottlieb. So then it is Janos's turn, and he is going to fire his short bow at the Grick, and he is going to use his sharpshooter feat, meaning 12 or higher. And that would be a hit. And since the Grick is engaged in melee combat with Gottlieb, that means Janos can use his sneak attack. 2d6 plus 13 points of damage. That would be 17. But since the Grick has damage resistance, it means it only takes 8 points of damage for a total of 14. After that, Janos is going to move into the room, and he is going to place himself in the northeast corner. That means the path is clear for Friedrich Dimmler, who was holding his action to move into the room. So he's going to do that, and he's going to go stand where the room connects to the corridor to the east. And then the last person to act is Seraphine, and she is going to cast Firebolt with a +5, so 9 or higher. And that's a hit for 1d10 points of damage, and this is fire, so the Grick does not have resistance. 9 points of damage. That does not feel good for the Grick. It makes this horrible noise that is somewhere between a hiss and a scream, and it flails about as the bolt burns into its rubbery flesh. And then the final thing to happen this round is that Gottfried can finally follow the rest of the party into room number 27. And then it is back to... Oh, actually, then it is Gottfried's turn. And that means he is able to attack the Grick with his glaive. So, sharpened. Oh my, that was pretty nice. So, let's see. 2d10 plus 3. That was quite the hit. That is 17 plus 3, 20, and then half. That is 10 points of damage, and that is exactly what was needed to slay the Grick. So Gottfried just runs into the room and completely impales this giant slug-like creature, and it wiggles and writhes on his glaive and bleeds this greenish blood that splatters onto the table and the walls, and probably also Gottfried himself. But the fight is over, and Gottlieb is in great need of healing, but I think that is going to have to wait until the next session, and this is actually going to have to be where we leave the party, as the Grick finally dies and becomes still on the table. The noise of the combat fades and is replaced by the incessant ghostly chant. That is where we are going to end today's session, and I thank you very much for watching, and hopefully I will see you in the next video.